Consider supporting Dan the Fireman on Patreon for just $1 a month. More information and link below.
What is up, everybody? Dan the Fireman here. I am ready to get back on the bike. I just did a quick mini, not review, but install talking about these saddlebags because I really want to start going camping and I feel like I needed some extra stuff. So now we're going to be talking about what you need to know before motorcycle camping. This is very big. This is one of the first videos I really wanted to do about motorcycle camping because it's important. So let's go ahead and get on the bike. I feel more natural on the bike, and let's do it.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about this. What you need to know before motorcycle camping. Now, number one, how long do you plan to be gone? Now, that could be a big thing. Are you doing a day trip? Are you doing a week-long trip? Are you doing a 6-month-long trip? Now, it's really important to plan this out, to really figure that out, is to, like, how long are you gonna be gone? A lot of the camping trips I do are usually overnight or 2 nights. So that's as much as I'm gonna do. I don't really need to worry about too much. But when it comes to that planning, yes, you know, how long you're gonna be gone, because that involves, you know, like laundry, it involves food, maintenance intervals. You know, ones if you're coming up on your tires running, you know, like bad, and you're gonna go on a 6-month-long trip, you're gonna have to realize that you're gonna have to change your tires at some point. Ones if you're almost to your, you need to get your oil changed, or you're almost to that point where you just need to, and you're gonna go on a trip and you need to get it done. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to maintenance intervals. When it comes to laundry and stuff, like once if you're gonna be gone for over a week, like maybe you need to plan to stop at a laundromat. And you know, usually there's a lot of towns that have them, but if you're just gonna be straight up camping the whole time and you're not gonna, you know, be traveling, you're just gonna camp for like a week and you're gonna be stuck there, you're gonna have to figure out like how much clothes or how many clothes you're gonna bring. You know, if you do your own laundry at the campsite, all those different things. So you have to plan that out. Also, you know, this doesn't really happen too much. I don't think it does, but I read somewhere that you need to worry about your registration. So if your registration's coming up and you're gonna be gone for like 2 months and it's coming up in a month, you should probably get it, you know, updated. You know what I mean? So the next thing I want to talk to you about is where will you stay and what gear do you need to pack? Now, are you going to a campground? Are you going to do tent camping? Are you going to go into a cabin? Or are you going to just ride across the country and do hotels all the way? That can get expensive. Tent camping is really cheap. Campgrounds, you might have to pay a little bit. So if you go like off destination, if you just go off to like a rest stop or wherever it's legally, you can legally camp with a tent, it could be free. But campgrounds usually, you know, you got to pay like, you know, 10 to 20 bucks or something like that at night. And there's some restrictions and whatnot, but usually you get some services, and you can get like bathrooms and trash cans and all that stuff. This guy was like staring at me. But yeah, so you need to figure out where you're gonna stay, and if you're gonna be staying in cabins the whole way, that's why you plan this out, is that you might not need to carry a tent with you. It's always good to have one just in case you want to camp off the side of the road and you know, you just need to have that shelter. So if you're gonna be camping in tents, this is what I usually do when I go out to like Mount Lemmon or something. I camp in a tent or a hammock. So you need to have like a tent, you need to have a sleeping bag, you need to have a hammock possibly, you need to have a sleeping pad. All these things are very important, and I'll be jumping into these topics during this Saturday series. I will be talking about gear, talking about how to set up tents and all that stuff, but this is just like the first video that I really want you guys to start thinking about how to camp and how to plan for it. So you need to start thinking about gear now. You need to think about where you're sleeping, how you're gonna sleep, and that's with like tent camping and campgrounds. If you're in a cabin, usually they have like a cot or something you can sleep on, but still, you need to start figuring out what it is that you wanna do, and then you need to plan for it. So what resources are gonna be available to you when you're at the campsite? Now I'm going to keep using Mount Lemmon as an example, and I'll be keep using my own experiences as examples. So do you need a reservation? So up on Mount Lemmon, there's some campsites that you need a reservation for, and then you have to reserve it for 2 nights. Like if I wanted to stay 1 night on the weekends, for some reason it says at minimum I have to stay 2 nights, so I got to pay an extra night, even though I might not use that night. So you got to figure out, you know, how much it's going to cost. You got to figure out like what reservations you can do. You have to prepare. You might have to bring a copy of your receipt. All those things. So do you need to have a reservation? Are you allowed to have campfires there? Right now it's in summertime, and I believe there's a fire restriction, so it's gonna get cold up there. I believe it's 30 degrees cooler than it is down here in Tucson. So during the day, down here it's like 95 degrees, okay? So it's, what is that, 65 degrees during the day up there? And it gets down to 70 degrees at night here, like 70, 75 degrees. So that is gonna be chilly. That's 40 to 45 degrees up there, and you can't have a campfire. So if you can't have a campfire, or you can't have something that will create a spark or anything like that to keep you warm, you have to realize that, and you can't be setting forest fires, guys. So you're gonna have to probably get a good amount of clothes to stay warm. You're gonna have to have a good sleeping bag and all that stuff. So those are all the little things that you need to plan for and kind of have you know, just be ready for. So having a good checklist of that is very important. Now, what happens if you need groceries and stuff? What happens if you like get to the area, you can't pack everything at home, and then but you need to get to the area to buy groceries, like, you know, you need to have food or whatever. I prefer dried food like trail mix, beef jerky, stuff like that. But that can dehydrate you, so you're gonna have to carry water and all that stuff. Is there a grocery store nearby? Do you have to pack it in now? Do you have to pack it up there? On Mount Lemmon, there's a trade store. There's like a little grocery store, trading post place, and they have quite a bit of stuff. And it's decently priced. It's like a gas station price. You know, it's the convenience, you know, tax on it. And but it's really convenient, and they do have some stuff up there. So that I'm lucky enough to be able to do that. But some places you can't do that. So you're gonna have to like figure out what grocery store you can head to and get to before you hit your campsite. Up in Payson, when I would camp at on the Mogollon Rim, I'd always stop at a Safeway in Payson because that was the closest one, and that was 40 minutes away from the campsite. So you have to kind of be prepared for that. And once again, is there gonna be like laundry or anything like that? Because I'm sweating like disgusting right now, sitting in this traffic. And if I'm gonna head to the campsite, I'm gonna want to like change these clothes out, and these clothes are dirty. These are like my riding clothes, but they're gonna be nasty. Like the shirt and underwear that I have underneath all this stuff, it's gonna be nasty, and I'm gonna want to have that changed out and fixed to where maybe I need to feel good again. You know what I mean? After a nice shower, after put on some clean clothes, you feel really good. So the next one, number 4, is your bike's maintenance up to date? Now this is very big because you're gonna be going on a long distance, and you possibly could be going off road to hit your campsite. You really want to double check and make sure your tires are good. You want to check your tires, see if they're any good. You want to see if, you know, if they're starting to bald, or if you have a nail in them. You might have to bring a plug kit. You know, there's a bunch of different things that you might have to start doing, but definitely check your tires. And is your oil change due? I kind of talked about that when you plan, you know, the service, the maintenance service and everything. You want to double check. What are you doing? You want to double check your oil. You might have to worry about the oil if it's coming up. So double check your fluids. Do like this quick 5-point check, and maybe go a little bit more in depth. I have a video on the 5-point check that I usually do before I go riding. I try to do it at least once a week, or before I get back on after I haven't rode in a while, just to double check everything. So yes, just do like an overall inspection when it comes to that. It's very important to check everything before you head out on a very long ride, especially if you're going to a place with no cell service. Number 5 is, will you be violating any local laws? Now this is kind of important because in Arizona, there is no, ooh, there's just cops right there. You can't see because this tree. The guy's getting pulled over. In Arizona, there is no helmet law, so you really don't need a helmet here. But you can't lane split here legally. Once you cross the border into California, let's say you want to camp in California and you're from Arizona, they have a helmet law. You need to have a helmet. So if you're going to be going into California from Arizona, you're not used to having a helmet on, you need to have a helmet on. I don't know why you would ride without a helmet, but you need to have a helmet on. And also in California, you can lane split, but it's not like speeding through the interstate, cutting between traffic. There's certain restrictions to the lane splitting, and they recently passed a law and bill and all that stuff, so you're gonna have to kind of pony up on that. And that's with any other state that you go into. It could be a municipality, so you might have to double check the laws inside that city, that town. So you really need to double check, make sure you're not violating any local laws, because if you do, that's just gonna add more money to your trip, and you're gonna have to deal with court, you're gonna have to deal with all that stuff just because you're so used to not having a helmet. You go into California, now you got a ticket in California. You don't want a ticket in California because that place is ridiculously expensive and pretty shitty. So double check to make sure you're going into a place where you're fine. Same thing with guns. If you bring a gun normally with you, like a handgun with you, to your campsite, if you're carrying it with you from Arizona to California, it's a big hassle. You have to actually like remove all the ammo. You have to store it into 2 different places. You can't carry it. There's just like a bunch of different things, and you really don't want to get in trouble with that. So double check all the local laws before you start your campsite. Now this is all the planning phase. You haven't even left yet. We haven't even left yet. You got to double check all these things. We're talking about the planning stage here. Another thing with the local laws is you got to double check the emissions. Right now I have the fuel pack to make sure my bike is running fine. Arizona, everything's pretty kosher. I looked it all up before I did it. And in California, I mean, just having an aftermarket exhaust could put you in trouble when it comes to emissions. So double check all that stuff. Number 6 is, what riding gear should you wear? Now, I'm always going to tell you, all gear all the time. I'm wearing full gear. I'm wearing a full face helmet, a very safe full face helmet. I'm wearing motorcycle gloves. I'm wearing a mesh summer jacket because it's freaking hot. but it's got armor and everything. I got motorcycle jeans on with armor on it, and I got motorcycle boots. So I got my whole body covered. I think just my neck needs to be covered, but overall this is pretty good. I got all the gear. So you need to wear gear. I highly recommend just everything, wear everything. But like I mentioned, there's Mount Lemmon up ahead. I'm actually riding towards it, and I can't wait to go camp up there, and I will be doing that soon, but I'm actually gonna turn around because I need to head home at the same time. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But will the climate change? I told you there's that 30-degree difference up on Mount Lemmon. We'll let that guy pass. He wants to ride up or drive up Mount Lemmon. Dang, I was like in this middle lane for a long time. I shouldn't have done that. There's a climate change up on Mount Lemmon. Once you start getting higher and higher and higher, the climate changes, the weather changes, everything changes. So right now it's like desert, but once you get to the top, it can snow. It can snow in the wintertime, and it changes to ponderosa pines and a bunch of different types of shrubbery, and it changes. It's a 30-degree difference. So right now I'm perfectly fine. I'm not gonna go right now. Let's go ahead and wait for this car. So right now I'm perfectly fine with the summer jacket. It's a little hot, but once I get up there, it might be really cold. Now during the wintertime down here, I can get away with wearing a summer jacket at the hottest time of the day down here. But once I go up there, I'll be freezing my ass off. So is the climate gonna change? Are things gonna change to where when you take off from home, you're fine, but then when you get to where you need to go, you're gonna be either freezing or running super hot. So you kind of have to plan that out. Find out what the temperature is, find out what the climate is, you know, the weather forecast for that area before you head out that way. And if it's gonna get colder, make sure you bring a little bit extra. If it's gonna get hotter, make sure you pack a summer jacket, because it might be cold where you're at, but when you get there, it might be hotter. So that's super important that you need to double check. Just like the climate, just like the weather changing, you know, the temperature change, it could rain or it could snow or it could hail, it could have a wind advisory, it could have a fire advisory. All these different things you need to double check, and it's going to change the way you ride. It's going to change where you're going to stay. It's going to change how you dress, and that's super important, because if it's raining, you're going to want to keep your gear nice and dry. You want to keep you nice and dry. You want to keep your bike nice and dry. If it snows, you know, you have to worry about, you know, just so much other stuff. Like I don't know too much about snow, but I know about rain and all that stuff. It sucks being at a campsite, just sitting in your tent or sitting in your hammock and just like not doing anything. So if it's gonna do that and it's gonna ruin your camping, just don't go. I wouldn't go, but if you want that experience, go ahead and go. If it snows, it might be fun. Maybe that's why you're going up there if it snows, but you also need to keep dry and you also need to keep warm, because you really do not want to be stuck out there with a dead bike. You don't want to be stuck out there and it's snowing too much to where you can't get out, because riding on the roads when it's snowing, you have to deal with black ice, you have to deal with the rain, you know, slippery roads, the oil coming up from the asphalt. You got to worry about, you know, just people not being able to see you. There's a lot of different things that when it comes to just inclement weather, it's not just, you know, how do I stay dry and how do I stay warm, it's how do I stay safe. So these are all these things that you need to worry about and plan for, and then have a way to mitigate each and every problem that could come up. And I'll be talking to you guys real soon about how to do a lot of that stuff. I'll be talking about specific gear. I'll be talking about like how to set up a campsite, how to do all this stuff, you know, where to put your tent, because you don't want to put it underneath like a dead branch, so when if it gets windy, that branch will come down and crush you. You know, all these things. I'm going to be talking about that in the Saturday series. I'm super excited about that. I'm going to be testing out these Burley brand saddlebags. I am so excited. I really can't wait to get this going, and I'm glad you guys are here, and it really does help out. So if you guys want to go ahead and subscribe, please subscribe. It really helps with the channel. Go ahead and like that. So if you guys want to go ahead and subscribe, that really helps with the channel. Right next to it is a notification bell button, and that way you're notified when I post a live stream or I post a new video almost every day, pretty much. But I can't wait to start this, guys. I'll see you guys later. Hope you guys ride safe, be safe, and bye.